So Kurt, break down for me what we know about Google's policies and how they differ from Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, you mentioned a few of the restrictions on ad targeting, specifically political affiliation, so you couldn't target just to Democrats or Republicans. But I think the real important part here is that both Google and Facebook have a product. They're named differently, but basically it allows a politician to upload a bunch of email addresses or phone numbers and then target those people on the surface. Google calls it customer match. Facebook calls it custom audiences. Google's getting rid of that for political ads, and that's a big deal because, again, a lot of these politicians build these rosters of potential voters and supporters that they want to reach continuously. Facebook still offers that right now, and that is kind of the, in my opinion, maybe the most important targeting element of this whole thing.
Eric, as it comes down to Google, what will be the impact on some of the campaigns?
You know, I think a lot of that is still to be seen, you know, what they can do to sort of work within the rules. But, you know, Facebook has been sort of in the headlines when you think of political advertising, obviously got super tied up in the 2016 election. But Google is really important here. You know, they have YouTube, search ads are influential, and there has been this power to target people, which is what gives online advertising sort of its oomph. And so I think we're going to have to see how the campaigns react. I mean, as long as Facebook is holding out, there's a question of whether spending shifts over to where people can still target their audiences. But it's a pretty significant decision.
Kurt, Eric stole my thunder. That has to be the next question is now, doesn't it make sense where we all just advertise on Facebook because we're not combined or confounded to what we say?
I think if that is the approach around, again, uploading these custom audiences, yeah, of course, you're going to go to the place that still offers that feature, which in this case is Facebook, not Google. So I do think that, you know, right now on paper, Facebook kind of stands to benefit a little bit by Google's decision if a lot of this money that would have gone probably more to YouTube even than Google search, because that's a little bit, I think, more targeted in terms of, again, these emails and phone numbers. But if you take that money and you say, okay, well, we can't reach voters in the way that we were planning to, Facebook is now probably the best option.
Well, and Kurt, yesterday in your tweet, when you were discussing this story and analyzing it, you said that on one hand, the Trump administration in 2016 had been very good at this, had used this, and was effective at it. Does that continue?
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the big story after 2016 was President Trump's and his campaign success on Facebook in particular. You know, our colleague Sarah Fryer wrote a really good story last year. She got her hands on some internal documents that Facebook had reviewed basically his performance during the campaign from an ad standpoint and found that he was testing thousands of different, millions, I'm sorry, of different ad formats to different people. So really trying to figure out what message works with what group of people and then really hammering home those messages to those individual cohorts. And I think that, again, is the whole point of this targeted advertising, as Eric mentioned, is that you can really get very granular and very specific. So the more they take that away, the harder it is going to be to, you know, really get in on a granular level.
Eric, I know it's very, very early days, but we're coming off the Democratic debates last night. Any sense within the big tech where the majority of ad spending has been going and what campaigns, Democrats or Republicans, have been really utilizing that tool as we ramp up to 2020?
Well, you know, we've seen funny examples with Elizabeth Warren spending on Facebook to antagonize Facebook. I mean, I think there's been concern on the Democratic side that Trump has gotten out ahead and, you know, since he can spend for, you know, the whole Republican Party in the presidential race, he's spending more aggressively than any individual Democratic candidate. So I think that's a concern. And you've seen, you know, efforts from the Democrats, group David Plouffe is affiliated with, trying to find ways to counterbalance that. But like you said, I mean, it's still early, and, you know, part of the problem of the Democrats having sort of a primary is that they're competing with each other at the moment, while Trump sort of has this time to position himself with potential voters.
Kurt, we came off of a previous segment where we were talking about Tim Cook's relationship with President Trump, and of all of big tech, and Tom Forte of D.A. Davidson said really of any big company right now, he has the best relationship. Where does Mark Zuckerberg stand in terms of a relationship with President Trump?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that they talk about, they being Facebook, the company. We just found out today, for example, that he had dinner with President Trump in D.C. They had previously had a closed-door meeting in the Oval Office. I believe that was even just about a month before the dinner. So just twice in the last couple months, they've met face to face. But again, Facebook doesn't really talk about this. He's certainly not on TV in the way that Tim Cook was with President Trump yesterday. He's also not being antagonized in the way that, Jeff Bezos of Amazon might be. Trump is not attacking Mark Zuckerberg in the same way on Twitter and other social platforms. So I imagine he must be somewhere sort of in the middle, but it is telling that Facebook doesn't necessarily want people to know when he's meeting with the president and what they are discussing.